I mentioned before, I'm Jay Sipkis, and I'm one of the VPs of marketing here with American Amicable. And we're going to talk today about our final expense products and processes, the things that we do to help you be successful with us. Whether you've sold us before and you want a refresher on the things that we do, or you're new in the final expense market and you want to understand how our products and processes work. I'm going to cover a lot of different things that no matter what your expertise level is, I hope you get some things out of this today. And my goal is that by the end of this session today, you're able to understand how our products work. You're able to utilize the processes we use for gain applications to us, and then you can track your business after that and make sure it gets issued and you get paid for it, and how to be successful with us. There'll also be some time in there for some Q&A with us. Just as an overall agenda, we're going to go through the overview of our company first. We'll go through the final expense products, so features, benefits, riders, some specifics about things that I think are important that you as an agent can utilize to make more sales out there. The underwriting of the product itself, we'll take kind of a deep dive into what some of the different sections are there, and then how the e-app kind of wraps around the whole thing in total. We'll go through the agent website as well and how you track your business, how you order supplies, where you find your commission statements at, things like that. So kind of a holistic view of just our final expense products and the things that we do to help you be successful with us. But for those who don't know our company, we go back to 1910. We were founded in Waco, Texas, where we still have our home office in downtown Waco there. We've had an AM Best rating of A Excellent for many years now. We're strong and secure financially. At the end of the day, we're going to pay your clients' claims and we're going to pay your commissions. And that's really what we're here to do as a company, is to help your clients make sure they have the protection they need and make sure you get paid appropriately for doing that job out there. So our products we have a broad portfolio of products. They're very simple and easy to understand. Beyond just the final expense side, we have easy issue term products. We have easy issue UL products. We have some niche products for the worksite market for voluntary benefits out there as well. Some really easy issue term stuff for people who work for the government or for schools or things like that. We're going to touch on those today. We're going to focus our time and effort on final expense, but our customer service is second to none. As a company, we want to earn your business out there. It's easy to talk about being good at customer service, and everybody says that they are, but where the rubber meets the road at is when you look at a company's actual sales and what they've actually done. If you look at our sales back in 2010, we did about $26 million of sales then. You go 5 years forward to about 2015, we did about $60 million of sales. We roughly doubled it in about a 5-year period of time. Well, from 2015, where we did 60 million, to 2020, where we did over 127 million, we doubled it again in about a 5-year period of time. So these things don't happen by accident. We have products and processes and things that we do that help you be successful with us. You are our most important client out there as an agent, and I'm going to show you today how you can utilize the things that we do to be more successful in this marketplace out there. Leading the way for our sales has been our final expense sales. Whether you work in the senior market exclusively or if this is just a piece of what you do out there, over 10,000 people a day are turning 65 years old out there, and they have a need for products like the ones that we provide for your clients out there. And when it comes down to it, you want to be able to offer them things that are easy and simple and fast. Our products are simple and easy and fast. It's a one-page application. And the great thing about it is at the end of the application itself, you're going to get an immediate underwriting decision right there at the point of sale, which means we're going to tell you right there, hey, your client's approved. Here's your policy number, and it's all done and over with. So you will know before you walk out of the house whether your client has been approved or not. Okay? Our issue ages on these products start at age 0, go up through age 85. And the great thing is that we can actually do a face amount as low as $2,500. So no matter what your client's income is, no matter what their needs are, we probably have a policy small enough to fit them, and we go to a relatively high face amount on the high end as well. Our underwriting is common sense underwriting. You can get most of your clients approved with us. We have a liberal height and weight chart, and we use consideration for what are called dual use medications. I'll touch on why that's important later, but what it means for you is that you'll have maximum flexibility to get your clients approved with us Where other companies would just automatically decline somebody, we will consider them for our best policy out there. Okay. Less than 5% of the people you apply with us will actually get a full decline with us, which means 95 out of 100 of them are going to get an offer from us, which is one of the highest rates I've ever seen out there in the industry out there. No matter how you do business, we want to do business with you. So whether you do e-applications, whether you do electronic signatures with an e-application like face-to-face, they sign it on, on your iPad or on your, other device like that, or you do an email signature. Let's say you're doing a Zoom call and you want to do a signature that way. You can email them the packet, have them sign it that way. If you're selling over the phone and you want to do a voice signature, we can do voice signatures as well. Or if you just do a paper application for whatever reason and you want to send it to us that way, we'll do that way too. So no matter how you do business, we want to do business with you that way too. Okay. We have competitive premiums and great writers out there. I'll touch on why and how these are important for you, but the writers do a great job of helping you make more sales in the houses you're in, as well as helping you get into more houses in the future. So when it comes down to it, our products and processes for final expense are fast, efficient, and easy for you to use. Final expense is a simplified issue whole life insurance, which means the premium, the face amount, and the cash values are all guaranteed 100% for the client. We have 3 different death benefit options available for people who are between 50 and 85, and there's 2 death benefit options available for those between 0 and 49. We're going to spend most of our time talking about the 50 to 85 crew, okay? But just know that this product is available at the younger ages if the situation arises for you out there. Now, the death benefit options your client will qualify for will be based upon how they answer our health questions and what prescription medications come back when we pull their prescription history. If your client has relatively good health, doesn't be perfect health, but just relatively good health, and then qualify for our best plan, that we call that our immediate death benefit, where if they die anytime after the coverage is in force, we pay 100% of the death benefit to the beneficiaries, no matter when it happens. Now, if you look at the older ages, between 50 and 85, our minimum face amount is only $2,500. That's lower than most carriers out there. And we can go up to, for those between 50 and 75, up to $35,000 of coverage. If they're between 76 and 85, we can do up to $20,000 of coverage. Even in the middle of COVID, we didn't change our maximum ages out there. We've always issued up through age 85. So we believe in being here for our agents and our customers, even in times like that. At the younger ages, from 0 to 49, we can also insure people for up to $35,000 of coverage. The second death benefit option they could qualify for is our graded benefit option. Now, this one has the fewest people that fall into it. If they fall in the graded category and they died in the first year of their policy, the beneficiaries would receive 30% of the death benefit. If they died in the second year, the beneficiaries would get 70%. If they died 2 years and 1 day or later than that, they would get 100% of the death benefit out there. And we can cover people between 50 and 85, all the way up to $20,000 on our graded plan out there. If your client falls into our return of premium category, which means they probably have some fairly serious health conditions out there, but they're still eligible for coverage with us. And I'll go through the application with you so you can kind of see where people fit at. If they're 65 or older, and they get return of premium with us, and they die within the first 2 years. That's the very bottom down here, 68, 85. Return of premium plus 10% is what the beneficiaries would get if the person died in the first 2 years of the policy itself. If the person lived for 2 years and 1 day after the policy was in force, they would get 100% of the death benefit payable to them in those situations. Now, for people that fall into that return of premium category, we can issue up to $20,000 of coverage for them on the return of premium, or ROP, as you'll see it stated later on. This is a much higher level than most carriers will go up to. A lot of them only go up to about $10,000 for these types of plans out there, but we will do up to $20,000 of coverage for your client, which gives them great opportunity to get coverage they can't get otherwise. Okay. Along with the base plan itself, we have a number of riders that are available for people that can help you sell both in the house that you're in, but also help you get into more houses in the future. There are 2 riders that we provide at no cost. That is, there's 0 premium that come with these riders when your client gets coverage with us. The 2 riders are terminal illness and for confined care. Now, specifically, what the terminal illness accelerated benefit rider says that if the client has a life expectancy of 12 months or less, it could be 24 months in some states, but most states it's 12 months or less, they can receive up to 100% of their death benefit when this happens. They can use that money for anything they want to use it for. Use it for paying their bills. They can use it for paying their medical expenses. They can use it for lost income. They can use it to fly their family in to come visit them. They can use it for anything that they want. It's their money to do with as they please. The second rider that comes at no cost for them is our confined care rider. It says if the person is confined to a nursing home at least 30 days after the policy is written, they can get a monthly payment out of their death benefit, which is 5% of the face amount up to $5,000 per month. Okay. Now that money can be used for paying for their nursing home costs. It can be used for paying their other bills, used for their medical expenses. However they want to use the money, they can use that money that way. You're probably asking, why are these important to talk about, or where can these be used at within a sales process to help me out as an agent? Well, let me just tell you, when you're sitting with a client and you're talking about death benefits and life insurance, yes, you're talking about their beneficiaries. You're talking about their family and their sons and their daughters and their wives and their husbands and things like that. But the client is also sitting there thinking about what's in it for me. Okay? They're not going to tell you that necessarily, but they're often thinking, what's in it for me? Well, the great thing about these riders is that you can help satisfy the thing that they're thinking about, the what's in it for me, by saying, hey, and if you get sick, Mr. Jones, you can receive up to 100% of your death benefit if your life expectancy is 12 months or less. That way you can enjoy the benefits of this policy while you're still alive. Same thing on the confined care. If you're confined to a nursing home, you can enjoy the benefits of this policy to help pay for your nursing home costs. Okay, so you see, this policy isn't just for your beneficiaries. This policy is for you. Okay, so utilize the no-cost riders to really help you sell people, help them understand that these policies aren't just for the beneficiaries, they can be used for themselves as well. Now, if we go back to our chart, we have 4 different riders that can be added on a cost basis. Okay, so these riders have premium that go with them. And I'm going to go through 3 of these for you here and why I think that they are a great add-on, depending on the situation that your client is in. We have the grandchild rider, the nursing home waiver premium rider, a child's rider, and then the accidental death benefit rider. I'm going to go through the grandchild rider first. What the grandchild rider says is that it provides life insurance on each grandchild and great-grandchild through the age of 20. It also guarantees their future insurability for up to $50,000 regardless of their health. Okay, so grandma takes out a policy, adds on the rider for the grandchild rider, her grandchildren can then buy future insurance because of this policy and this rider without having to show that they're insurable in the future. That's a really nice benefit for your customers out there. And this rider can be issued all the way up through age 80, okay, on the primary insured. And the grandchildren have to be between 6 months old and 15 years of age in order to be eligible to be added to this policy. The premium is super, super inexpensive. It's $1 per month per grandkid per unit. Now, a unit is $5,000 of coverage, and you can add up to 2 units per person. So the maximum 2 units there at $5,000 per unit. If we've got 4 grandchildren that we're adding, we're going to put $10,000 of coverage on each of them. There's 4 times 2 is $8 per month for $10,000 of coverage for each of the 4 grandkids on this one rider. So as you can see, it's a very inexpensive way to add coverage to the family in the future. Now, the outcomes you get from adding this are 2 really good things for yourself. Number 1, you can get better persistency. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, persistency-wise, when your client down the road, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the road, decides or is looking at possibly canceling the policy on you for whatever reason. Maybe they can't afford it, maybe they don't remember the benefits of it, who knows? And they call you up and say, hey, Mr. Agent, I need to cancel my policy. You say, okay, well, remember you had $15,000 of coverage for yourself, and then you had $10,000 of coverage for each of your 4 grandkids. And I'm going to venture to guess that when you tell them that and you remind them of that, there's a really good chance that they're not going to cancel their policy at that point when they realize that, oh, I've got my grandkids on here. Okay, I'm going to keep this thing in force. There is value in there beyond just for myself. I also talk about outcomes for more referrals. Grandchild riders are a great way for you to use that as a stepping stone from one generation into the next. What I mean by that is when you insure grandma who buys a policy on her grandchildren, in the middle there are her kids, right? The mother and the father of her grandchildren. Well, you probably should sit down with the mother and the father of her grandchildren and explain what grandma has done and the future insurability of their kids, that she's insured that for them. Now that you sat down with them, what a great time to review their insurance needs and the other things that you provide as a professional out there. So it's this rider is a fantastic way for these 2 reasons to help your persistency out and help you get into more homes very inexpensively for your clients' costs out there. The next rider is our nursing home waiver of premium rider. The nursing home waiver of premium rider says that if they are confined to a nursing home for 90 days or more, then we will pay all their premiums on their behalf. Okay, they don't need to pay their premiums to keep this thing in force. Okay, so it's issued all the way through age 85. It's a nice policy to add. If you look at like a 70-year-old male for a $15,000 policy, to add this rider on there is only about $4 a month. As a percentage of the premium that they're going to pay, it's a very inexpensive way to show them coverage out there. And the benefit for like single people out there, or widows, things like that, is the peace of mind of knowing that, hey, something happens to me and I can't, I've got extra costs that come in if I'm confined to a nursing home. I don't need to worry about having to pay for the cost of my life insurance premium. So there's a nice benefit for you there with that. The third one I'm going to talk about is our accidental death benefit rider. And a lot of agents like to add this because it provides an additional amount of death benefit should the insured die from an accident. Okay, an accident would be a death from any bodily injury that's not considered an illness. It's issued through age 80. The minimum amount is $2,500, and then the maximum you can do is whatever the face amount is that you do. Okay, so if you do a $15,000 face amount for the base policy, you can do anywhere from $2,500 up to $15,000 of coverage for the accidental death benefit. Okay, and the price will go up a little bit, obviously, as you add more coverage to that. And then this thing will terminate at age 100. If they live past that, they would not receive the accidental death benefit. But for an idea about cost on this, again, a 70-year-old male non-smoker for a $15,000 accidental death benefit, it's only about $8 a month to add that. So you'd be showing somebody who had $15,000 of coverage for normal death, if you will, plus an extra $15,000 of coverage for an accidental death, means they would have up to $30,000 of life insurance, depending on the situation, and it only costs $8 a month to add something like that. So accidental death benefit's a great way to show additional value and create more value in what you offer to your clients out there with a rider like this. Okay, so all of our riders can be added for people who are in our immediate death benefit. That's the IMD for the older ages there. Only some of them can be added if the client is on the return of premium. And the reason I like that grandchild rider and that great grandchild rider that's out there is that it can be added no matter what your client's health status is. So whether they get the immediate plan or the graded plan or the return of premium plan, they can always add coverage for their grandchildren and great grandchildren on there. And it's a great way that when your client comes back, if you think they're going to be immediate and comes back at return of premium or graded for them, you can help place more of your substandard cases by using the grandchild rider on there, because they're going to get coverage for themselves plus for their grandkids on there. So it's a nice way to help place those cases for yourself out there. For your clients who are under 50 years old, we have the same terminal and confined care riders. We have a child rider, the same accidental death benefit rider, There's a level term rider for the spouses, and then a waiver of premium if they're disabled available for them as well. Okay. On to some underwriting situations with our final expense here. So there are a couple tools that you're going to use when you work with our final expense products. Our agent guide is available on the agent website, and it will have a couple things listed in there beyond just the policy information, things like that. It's going to have an impairment listing, which will show 200 or so conditions that you might come across out there. And on the screen there, it's got an example of one, like for example, kidney failure. It says if they've been diagnosed, treated, or take a medication for kidney failure, they're probably going to apply for our return of premium levels, where they're going to fall at. And that corresponds to question number 5 on the application. So the agent guide's got 200 or so of these conditions listed that will help you direct and understand where the client's going to fall at on our underwriting chart. We also have our prescription reference guide. Our prescription reference guide is set up the exact same way. It's in the agent guide too, and it shows by common medication what the common uses are for it, when was the last time it was filled, and then where the client will fall from an eligibility standpoint. Okay, so Symbicort is a good example of where we get into our dual use medication system, where a lot of carriers, when they see Symbicort, they automatically assume your client's taking it for COPD or emphysema, and in most cases they're going to just decline that. Okay, that's not how we do business though. When we see Symbicort, we look at it and go, okay, is that for asthma or is that for COPD or emphysema? If it's for asthma, we will consider them for our immediate death benefit, our best benefit, if you will. If it's being used for COPD or emphysema, and they filled it in the last 2 years, they're probably going to fall in the return of premium category. If they last filled it within the last 3 years, they're going to fall in the graded category. Now, the last time they filled it was 3 years or more ago, they are probably eligible for our immediate benefit again. Okay, so I'll explain and I'll show you where this all ties in at with our e-application. It's a very simple and slick and easy process for you to use to help us understand what the client's actually taking medications like this for. Okay, it goes back to how flexible our system is. Now, if you're just not sure, you want to ask us, you want to run a situation by us, like some of have had go on the agent website, click on the live chat button. So once you log into the marketing sales page, click on the live chat icon. It'll take you in. You can live chat with our marketing assistants. If you ask for a risk assessment, they'll connect you to an underwriter who will then, you just type it in and ask your question around there, and they'll come back with an answer right then and there. Very simple and very easy to use. If you are doing something after hours, say you're visiting somebody in the evening and our home office isn't open for a risk assessment, you can just send us an email at riskassess@aatx.com, and the next morning you get an answer back on how we're going to handle a situation like the one that you're running into. Now, our e-app is very simple and easy to use. Okay, I'm gonna walk you through where to get to it, how to do quotes for it, and then the actual process that you'll utilize with the e-application itself. Okay, so website, first place to go to, www.insuranceapplication.com. Okay, www.insuranceapplication.com. What a name, huh? It does exactly what it says it's going to do. We own this website. It's only for American amicable applications out there. When you pull it up on your iPad or laptop or phone, it's going to pull up and look just like this. It's going to have a mobile application. You'll click on there. It'll take you in. You put your agent number in and your password, and it'll take you into the application process. When you want to run a quote before that and figure out how much it's going to cost, click on Phone Quoter. Okay, Phone Quoter takes you to a similar screen, and you can run quotes on the same product. If you want to run a quote for a $10,000, a $15,000, a $25,000 policy, it'll run all 3 of those at the same time for you, for example. You want to add a different rider, you want to add this, you want to mess with this, whatever you want to do, the Phone Quoter is the place to go. And that's for all of our products out there. So not just final expense, but if you're running term products or our whole life or some of our worksite products, the Phone Quoter will have all products that are available to you under your agent number listed there for you to choose from to run those quotes that way. If you do paper applications, you have the app drop and the document drop to us. You can send those to us through the website here. If you scan them and email, or scan them and upload them through the website here. If you need to do a bank authorization with your client, say you got an existing client that needs to change their bank auth, you can do that through this website as well. So this is your starting point for all of our mobile tools out there. So when you are, whether you use Chrome or Firefox or Mozilla, whatever you want to use for your browser out there, www.insuranceapplication.com is your starting point. If I click on that mobile application on there, it takes me into a screen once I put my agent number in. Looks just like this. It's a final expense e-applications starting screen. It'll show me the applications that are in progress here. So if I've got something that I've filled out and it hasn't been submitted yet, it'll be the in progress. And then I have the ones that I previously transmitted. So anything that I filled out and then hit send, and I'll show you how this all works in just a little bit, would be under that applications previously transmitted area there. So you can keep track and see what we've actually gotten and the status on it. And this is important because if you're doing an application for somebody and for whatever reason you can't complete the whole process that first time you see them, you need to come back later, this thing will store that application in the system for you. So you don't have to go back and redo everything that way, okay? Now I'm ready to do a new application. We're going to click on the new application button. Okay, it's just sitting right there in the blue screen right there. And when you do that, it takes me into a new screen from there. There's a button that says underwriting questions. If you want to go through the health questions with them before you do all the application, you can. Okay, you want to make sure that they can qualify for the plan coverage you think they're going to qualify for. But you don't have to go there if you don't want to. The next box down is going to have their information. So first, middle, last name, what's their date of birth. It'll come up with their age. We use their age on their last birthday, and then whether they're male or female. The next question is about tobacco. In the last 12 months, have you used tobacco in any form, excluding occasional pipe and cigar use? So we consider tobacco use to be if you smoke cigarettes, if you chew tobacco, if you vape, if you utilize a Nicoderm patch, that's all tobacco use. You'd answer yes. Now, if your client only smokes an occasional pipe or a cigar, we would consider that to be a no, okay? Now, down below, you get the plan type that you're going to apply for. You have the immediate, the graded, and the returner premium. We will qualify your client for the best possible plan coverage that we can qualify them for. So if you put down ROP for returner premium, and we can approve them for the immediate benefit, we'll approve them for the immediate benefit. Okay, and it works the other way around too. So if you apply for the immediate and they only qualify for returner premium, we'll approve them for the returner premium. Okay, there's a box down there at the bottom. It says check here if you're willing to accept any plan for which you qualify based on this application. Okay, always check this box as an agent. Okay, and the reason for that is that if you check that box, we won't have to do the amendment and endorsement process once the application has been issued. We'll do it all within the application here on the e-app. It's going to save you time and effort and heartache down the road just by checking this box. Now, just because the client checks the box doesn't mean that they have to accept it. It just means that they're willing to consider to accept it. So there's no reason not to check this box on every application that you do, just in case it comes back different than what you apply for. This will make your life a lot easier down the road. The next part it's going to go into is what riders and benefits you want on the plan itself. Now, for the sake of this example, I'm going to add that nursing home waiver premium rider on there. Remember that one that was like, it was very inexpensive to add on there, that said that if they're confined to a nursing home, they don't have to pay their premium to keep the policy in force. And then I'm going to add 2 grandkids on here for $5,000 each. We're doing a monthly plan, and it's $15,000 of coverage. Remember, this was a 71-year-old smoker, if I'm not mistaken. The automatic premium loan has been selected. Okay, we're going to select on the top section there. We put how many grandkids we want on there. We're going to name the grandkids later on in the application process, so you don't have to worry about that for now. Okay, and then down at the bottom, We can select on a case-by-case basis if you want the policy, once it's been approved, to be mailed to you or to the insured or to the owner of the policy. Okay, so sometimes you might want it mailed to you to hand deliver yourself. Sometimes you might want it delivered to the client for whatever reason. Okay, so we let you pick on a case-by-case basis what that's going to look like. Okay, fill out if we're going to save their age, if there's a future policy date, or we're going to date the thing on approval. Once we get that bottom selected, we're going to hit quote. Now, when I hit quote, it pulls up a new screen and it's going to look kind of like this. Remember, I did $15,000 on a 71-year-old smoker, and I had riders on there for the nursing home waiver premium rider. I also had 2 grandkids on there for $5,000 each. Remember, there is also the terminal illness rider and the confined care riders as well that come at no cost too. Okay, so we got 71-year-old male, and there's a premium there. If I'm not happy with that premium amount and it needs to be something different for whatever reason, I can hit go back and go back, take me back to the previous screen. I can mess with the riders, the face amounts, and all that stuff to get where I want it to be. I could hit view PDF presentation and it'll pull up what the cash values and things would be in the policy itself. Or if I hit continue application, it'll take me on to the health questions. Okay. Now our health questions are very simple, and then we use a common sense underwriting standard with everything that we do on all of our products. Okay. The first 3 questions on our final expense app are knockout questions. Okay. If your client answers yes on questions 1, 2, or 3, they are not going to qualify for any form of coverage with us. Okay. At that point, it's probably not even worth trying to submit the application to us if you're answering yes on the application. Okay. Now, questions are, number 1, are you currently hospitalized? Are you currently confined to a nursing facility, confined to a bed, or confined to a wheelchair due to chronic illness or disease? Do you currently use oxygen equipment to assist in breathing? Are you receiving hospice care or home health care? Have you had an amputation caused by disease? Or do you currently have any form of cancer? Diagnosed or treated by a medical professional, or do you require assistance with activities of daily living such as bathing, dressing, eating, and toileting? Okay, so there's some pretty serious stuff in there. Oxygen equipment to assist in breathing, for example, that would be like an oxygen tank. If you come across a CPAP machine that blows air into their airway to keep it open at night, that is not oxygen equipment. Okay, you'd still answer that question no if they use a CPAP at night, for example. There's a question there about amputation caused by disease. Amputation caused by disease would be something like a diabetic situation that caused them to be amputated. However, if they had an amputation because of a motorcycle accident, then they could still possibly answer that question no. Okay, so understand exactly what the question is asking and answer it appropriately that way. Question 2, have you had or been medically advised to have an organ transplant or kidney dialysis? Been diagnosed as having congestive heart failure or CHF, Alzheimer's, dementia, mental incapacity, ALS, liver failure, respiratory failure, or been diagnosed as having a terminal medical condition or end-stage disease that is expected to result in death in the next 12 months. Okay, it's exactly what they're asking right there. Question 3 revolves around HIV and AIDS. Have you been treated or diagnosed with AIDS, ARC, or immune deficiency related disorder, or tested positive for the HIV virus? Okay, so questions 1, 2, and 3 are knockouts, and we need to answer those questions no to really be able to move on the application itself. Now, questions 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, if they answer yes, we can still offer them coverage. Now, depending on what questions they answer yes to, will depend on what level of coverage they can get with us. If they answer all of them no, they can probably get our immediate death benefit. Okay, but let's go through the questions on 4 first. Question 4, you've been diagnosed or treated for complications of diabetes, including insulin shock, diabetic coma, retinopathy, nephropathy, neuropathy, or use insulin prior to the age of 50. Okay, it's pretty self-explanatory stuff. We are seeing more and more seniors being diagnosed as type 1 diabetic, which is the insulin form of diabetic, later in life. Okay, really it's asking when was your first shot of insulin? Was it after the age of 50? You're seeing more and more seniors out there going on to those types of insulin later in life. So you'd be surprised how many people can qualify for this coverage still on question 4. Question 5, been medically diagnosed, treated, or taken medication for renal insufficiency, kidney failure, chronic kidney disease, or more than one occurrence of cancer in your lifetime, okay? So that's pretty self-explanatory. Question 6, in the last 2 years, have you had any diagnostic testing, surgery, or hospitalization advised by a medical professional which has not been completed or for which the results have not been received? So if they've got an MRI coming up, or they've got a oncology test that they're waiting for a result back from, we need to get that result back before we can offer them coverage, things like that, okay? So that's questions 4, 5, and 6. Question 7 looks in the last 2 years. Okay, in the last 2 years, have you been medically diagnosed or treated for angina, stroke, or transient ischemic attacks, or TIA, cardiomyopathy, systemic lupus, cirrhosis, hepatitis, chronic hepatitis, pancreatitis, COPD, emphysema, bronchitis, or required oxygen equipment to assist in breathing? And that's in the last 2 years. 7B asks, have you had a heart attack or aneurysm, or been advised to have any type of heart, brain, or circulatory surgery, or any procedure to improve circulation? Okay, question 7C, been in the last 3 years, have you been, or excuse me, in the last 2 years, been medically diagnosed or treated or taken medication for any form of cancer? Okay, so the last 2 years for cancer. And the last 7D, have you used illegal drugs or abused alcohol or drugs in the last 2 years? Okay, that's question 7, A, B, and C, and D. Question 8, if we've answered no to all questions 1 through 7, but we answer yes to question 8, then the client will fall into our graded benefit plan, okay? If they answered yes to a question 4, 5, 6, or 7, they're gonna fall in our return of premium level. And you're gonna see question 8 is really an extension of question 7. It's just really, instead of asking in the last 2 years, it asks in the last 3 years, have you had these things? So question 8A about stroke, angina, heart attack, aneurysms. Question 7, or excuse me, 8B, medication for any form of cancer in the last 3 years, chronic bronchitis, COPD, things like that. Question 8C, paralysis of two or more extremities, cerebral palsy, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, or muscular dystrophy, okay? Go through all the health questions with them. If they answer no to all the health questions on there, they should apply for the immediate death benefit plan with us, okay? The next question you'll get to is our COVID questionnaire. This doesn't pop up for every state. Not every state has approved us to utilize a COVID questionnaire. Like, for example, the state of Florida does not allow carriers to use COVID questionnaires. Most states do. And then you go through the questions exactly as they're asked on here. Now, just know that as of May of 2021, if your client has recovered from COVID more than 90 days ago, we are okay to issue them. And I think by recovery, we would be saying that they've tested negative from COVID after a positive test previous to that, okay? So it's even, we are becoming more and more loose as it comes to COVID because the treatments are getting that much better for people out there, okay? The next section will ask you about their bank draft information. To ask you for the account holder name, what bank they're at, what the city and state and the address of it is. It's going to ask you a question. Would you like your draft to coincide with your Social Security payment schedule? Yes or no? Whenever possible, if your client is on Social Security, you want to check yes. And this is going to help your persistency out. And I'm going to get a little more detail about this in just a minute, okay? Next thing it's going to ask you for is their routing number and their account number. The routing number is always a 9-digit number, and it's specific to a bank. Okay? It's if your client only has a copy of their bank statement, which has their account number on it, it doesn't always have the bank's routing number on it. You can look up routing numbers online on Google. If you just punch in Chase Bank routing number, it'll pull up what their routing number is for their banks out there. But just make sure you get the routing number. It's 9 digits long exactly every single time. Our system checks the routing number to make sure it's valid whenever you send it to us. Okay, so if it doesn't return a valid bank with the routing number you give us, it'll pop up and give you an error. Next, they'll ask you what the draft date is that you want your client's premium to come out on. Okay, here we selected 3S, and 3S notes that I'm going to coincide that with their Social Security payment on the 3rd of the month. I'll explain a little bit later in just a minute more about that, and then whether it's a checking account or a savings account. Okay. For more information about the Social Security drafting, your clients who receive Social Security every month get it on basically the same schedule every month, from month to month. So if they are receiving it, if they're a new recipient, most of them are getting it either on the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th Wednesdays of the month. If their birthday falls between the 1st and the 10th, they're on the 2nd Wednesday. If their birthday is between the 11th and the 20th, they're getting it on the 3rd Wednesday. If their birthday is between the 21st and the end of the month, they're getting it on the 4th Wednesday. Some people receiving supplemental security income or disability income are often on the 1st or the 3rd of the month, okay? But those are fewer and fewer as time goes on. And then people who are on Social Security from prior to 1998 were typically on the 3rd of the month as well. But most of the new recipients are on either the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th Wednesdays. What we do is we match up when we take out their premiums to when they receive their deposits from Social Security. So let's look at the 2nd Wednesday of the month, for example. The 2nd Wednesday of the month could fall anywhere from the 8th to the 14th of the month, depending on how the calendar falls. And if your client receives their Social Security on the 8th, like the 2nd Wednesday falls on the 8th, but you tell us to draft on the 14th, there's 6 days there where the money could either be spent by the client, they can forget they have an insurance premium coming due, they might take all the money out, they could overdraft for other reasons, where there's things that could happen that when we go to pull money out to pay their premium, it's not there anymore. Now that creates problems for you because then you have to circle back to them, get a premium payment for them, and you got to spend your time and effort trying to do those things. If you sync up their premium withdrawals to the Social Security calendar and you tell us, hey, 2nd Wednesday is when they get their deposit, what we will do is when the Social Security deposits on the 8th, like the 2nd Wednesday falls on the 8th, we will also draft their premium on the 8th. When Social Security pays that 2nd Wednesday on the 11th of the month, we'll pull their money out on the 11th of the month to match up when the money goes in that same day, we pull their premium out. What it does for you is it helps you get better persistency, avoids those non-sufficient funds, errors and transactions that take place, and it keeps you focused on creating new sales for yourself rather than trying to save the ones that are on the books for yourself. Okay, so whenever possible, sync up the premium drafts to the Social Security calendar and let us help you keep your clients in force that way. The next screen is going to ask you for the client information. They'll ask you for their address, and it's going to run a real-time check to make sure the address is valid. So we put in the address, and if it's not valid, it won't come back that little green check mark there that's underneath the address itself. They'll ask for their Social Security number, their Social Security number, that is, how to reach them, if they have an email address, where they were born at, their height and weight, and then their physician's address, name, address, and phone number. Okay. If they don't have one, just put NA. Okay. We are not going to send a letter to them or anything like that. Really, that physician's name, address, and phone number is in case we need to get medical records after their death for whatever reason. This helps us get that process started faster for them. Okay. Now, earlier on, if you remember, I selected the grandchild rider. We're going to add 2 grandkids on there for coverage. If you don't have grandkids that are part of the policy or this rider selected, this wouldn't pop up. Okay, but in this case, it is going to pop up for me. So I'm going to put in the grandkids' names. I'm going to put in first and last name, their date of birth, what the relationship is, male or female, and then they ask, hey, is there another grandkid? Okay, I put the next one in. Now, if you noticed, it doesn't ask me for the kids' Social Security numbers. We don't ask for that information. Okay, we don't ask for the kids' Social Security information because, quite frankly, grandma and grandpa never have it. So rather than creating time and effort wasted on your behalf, we don't need it to issue this rider for the kids out there. Okay. So give us the kids' information out there, but just make sure the number of grandkids you put in here matches what you put earlier on when you ran the quote. Because if it doesn't match up, if you put in 3 grandkids here, but there's 2 before, it's going to error out and ask you to change something to make it right. Okay, so just make sure you get the number of grandkids before. It's got a little health statement down at the bottom that your client's going to attest to as well. And then the next screen it takes you to is for the owner's information and the payer information. Is the owner the proposed insured? Most of the time it'll be a yes. Now, is the payer the proposed insured? If the person paying the premium isn't the insured or their spouse or significant other or their child, we're going to have to do a telephone interview with the insured at the end of the application process. Okay, so when we get to the end here, I show you the different screens that can pop up at the end. That's one that can pop up, but it's less than 1% of the applications out there get submitted where the payer isn't, the insured, their spouse, significant other, or their children. Okay, so it's very rare that this happens that way. You're going to put in their beneficiary information next. So you get the primary beneficiaries, then you get into the contingent beneficiaries, and you put as many in there as you want that way. And that's going to ask you for the existing coverage. Okay, so if do they have existing life or disability insurance, and then will you be replacing it? Okay, if you answer yes to either question, technically a replacement form is needed. We handle all that stuff through the application for you. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. Once you answer all these pieces right here, we're going to click on Continue to Agent Statement. When we go to the agent report, we're going to put in our name, and we're going to put where the client is located at when the application is signed. Okay. Where this is important, if you're doing face-to-face, you're going to be in the same place as they are, obviously. But if you're selling by phone, if you're doing an email signature, you're doing a Zoom call with them, doing somewhere where you're not kneecap to kneecap with your clients, if you're sitting in another state and they're sitting in Texas, for example, you're going to put Texas as the place where it was signed at. Okay, this page right here is based on where the applicant is located at. Okay, so the laws of the state where your applicant is located at are what's going to prevail when it comes to when application is written. So make sure you get this part right based upon where the applicant is sitting at. It'll ask you the replacement questions again, ask you for your agent number, put your name in there, and then if you're splitting with another agent, you can do that on here as well. It'll ask you to continue to the signature process. Okay? You got 3 options. Whether you're going to sign on the screen, which is most of the time when you're face-to-face with somebody, you're going to do the sign on screen option. And we're going to go through that in detail here for just a second. If you were doing a Zoom call or you got a client that lives far away and you do the application over the phone, you might email for the signature. And that process is you'll do all this same stuff and they'll email a packet to them. They'll open it up. They'll do what's called a knowledge-based authentication. The system, the DocuSign system, will ask them questions about themselves that only they should know based on their consumer credit profile out there. They will verify that it's actually them. They'll put their electronic signature in the document, and then it'll get sent back to you for processing. Similar process with the voice signature, you'd actually at the end of the e-application do a 3-way call with our either our headquarters or our third-party vendor in order to complete the voice signature itself. Okay, and then you'll take the application from there. Here we're going to do the sign on screen option. Okay, sign on screen. When I select that, the next button that pops up says click here to view the application. It must be reviewed by the applicant before documents can be signed. I'm going to click on the click here, and when that happens, a new screen pops up and it looks like this. It's got all the information that I put in the application with their name, their address, their phone number. Is there a telephone interview required? No. It's their email address, social security number, their beneficiary information, the plan of insurance, the riders, the modes, all that stuff, all the health questions. Everything is in here exactly as I put in the application before. Okay, you'll want to go over this with your client for just a second, make sure you put everything in correctly. And when you've done that, it's also got the authorizations in there for the MIB notice, the authorization for to pull their prescription history, things like that are on the end of it. Once you review it, now we need to have them sign it. Okay? It's got a blank in there where it says applicant signature. I click on applicant signature and it pulls up a new screen nice and big where your client can either use their finger and sign it that way, or they can use a stylus and they can use it on the screen if you're using an iPad, or they can even type it in if you're using a laptop computer. All those methods work. Once that is done, you'll hit save signature and it'll pull it up and it'll look exactly like it does in the box. Now that signature box has been filled in for you, so you know you've recorded the signature that you need. Click on save signature and continue. When you do that, it'll then take you onto the next screen, okay, which will essentially be where we started at. And this is just showing the corner of the screen on that beginning eApp sign-on screen where we logged into the system itself. On the very right-hand side, it's going to say ready to submit. Okay. When I click on that ready to submit, it's going to pull up another little screen for me to select, okay, I can either submit the application, or if I need to edit something on it, or I just want to look at it, make sure everything's right again, or if I need to manage the signatures on it, whatever I need to do, I've got some options with it. In most cases, you're going to select submit application, okay, right there in the middle. And when I do that, okay, then the magic starts. I say magic, you're going to end up submitting the application to us in real time. In about 10 to 15 seconds, an underwriting decision is going to come back on your screen, and it's going to look just like this. Here's an example of an approval of what it would say if your client had their MIB and their prescription history was clean. It's going to say decision. The proposed insured has been approved for the immediate death benefit plan. Well, that's great. Now you know your client has actually been approved for it, and you can give yourself a little internal high five and know that you got coverage for them. Sometimes they'll come back and say, hey, your client's taking a medication, we need more information about it. And where there's some drill down questions. So remember we talked about furosemide or like Symbicort earlier. Furosemide is a similar drug to Symbicort in that it's used for a lot of different conditions. It can be used for everything from high blood pressure on one end of the spectrum, all the way to congestive heart failure or CHF on the other end of the spectrum. Now, where somebody falls on that spectrum is a subjective thing. A lot of carriers, when they see furosemide, they automatically assume that the client has congestive heart failure, which for almost everybody is an automatic decline. We don't look at it that way. We want to know where on that spectrum that client falls. And that's where we ask you the question, hey, we got this medication back. Was it being prescribed for CHF? Now, if the client's only taking it for high blood pressure, their general practitioner prescribes it that way, and they don't have congestive heart failure, you'd answer no. And at that point, when I hit no, a little box is going to pop up, and I can put some notes in there. Dr. Smith prescribes this for high blood pressure. He's taken it for 3 years now. He does not have CHF, something like that. And you hit submit, send it back to us. We will review that within 24 hours. We'll compare that to the MIB. We'll compare your notes to the prescription history that we've got with them. And then we'll make a decision whether this is actually being used for high blood pressure or CHF. And I can tell you that 80% of the time, when you submit a dual use medication like this, and you submit it to get better coverage for your client, they get that better coverage with us. So 4 out of 5 times on average, we're able to approve your client at that better level of coverage when it's a legitimate situation that's being used for a dual use. Where these are situations where other companies would automatically decline them. They'd say, nope, sorry, our system doesn't allow you to submit us information. We want you to send that to us because we want to approve your business. Okay. Sometimes it'll come back when you apply for the immediate death benefit, but we find things in their background that say, we're not going to be able to approve them for that level. It says, hey, this proposed insured has been approved for the return of premium death benefit plan. And Hepsera was the reason for that. Okay, would you like to provide additional information with this application? Same thing, you can submit information to us and we'll consider that as well, okay? Also, sometimes it'll say, hey, this application has been referred to the home office, okay? For example, the client is taking nitroglycerin, okay? Nitro is used for some heart conditions out there. Would you like to provide additional information on this application? In cases like this, I would say absolutely, yes. Client has been prescribed nitro but has never taken it. Okay, when the client home office gets that, then they would review that, look at it, and make a determination again whether we can approve that client for the best possible benefit level with us out there. So, and you can see where in almost all cases, we're going to ask you for clarification on the things that we see out there, because it's our philosophy. We want to approve your clients as much as possible out there. And remember how I talked earlier, when the client has somebody paying for their policy that isn't themselves, their spouse, or their kids, or sometimes we run their prescription history and we don't find a record for them anywhere. Okay. In those cases, we might have to do an interview. Again, that's less than 1% of the time, but if that pops up, that's why it's happening. What I would recommend doing, do the interview being completed now, and we will do it right then and there when you're sitting with your client, and it only takes a few minutes to do and get knocked out and out of the way. If you do home office, we'll order the interview. It'll be at least the next business day, if not after that, and then we'll be calling them from a number that they won't recognize. They probably won't pick up the phone, and it's going to be difficult to get them to complete that interview. So as much as possible, do the interviews if this pops up right then and there with your client, so we can get everything all done and squared away before you leave the house. Okay, so to sum up the process of the product out there, like I said, it's a very fast, simple process. You can see if you're going through that application itself, it's about a 7, 8, 9 minute process from start to finish. It's about as fast as you can do. And the great thing is you get those immediate underwriting decisions right there at the point of sale with your client. So you know if they're going to be approved or not, whether you can get coverage with us. If you can't get coverage with us, then you know you can go on to another carrier and find coverage for them somewhere else. So we're a fantastic company to start with, because we'll approve almost everybody out there for you. Our height and weight charts are liberal. Of course, that dual use medication consideration is huge for you as an agent, because it allows us flexibility to get people approved and not get them declined with us. We'll take business from you however you want to send it to us. We've got great premiums, great riders. In this process, everything is fast and efficient and easy. That's really how we operate as a company and how we want to do business with you out there. Okay. Now, I'm going to go through the agent website with you for just a second and show you where to access your pending business and things like that, your enforced cases, your commissions, all that stuff. So once you log in, whether you're logged into AmericanAmicable.com or OccidentalLife.com, whichever site you log in through based upon which company your primary contract is with us, once you log in, there's some links on the left-hand side for information about like conventions and the products and stuff like that. The top of the screen has most of the things you're going to use to manage your business, though. It's got the agent e-file, which I'm going to go through in detail for you. It's got information about how to order supplies. It's where you will order your supplies at. The approvals by state, if you want to run an illustration, stuff like that. So to order supplies, just click the link and then tell us what you want. It'll take us 2 or 3 days to send you hard copies of what you want. If you want just to download the PDFs and either have them on your device, which is what I like to do, just keep a folder of them all. That way you can either show them on your iPad or print them out if you need a hard copy on the fly. Just probably an easier way to keep everything organized for yourself that way. But order supplies on the screen there. There's an illustrations button. If you need a complete illustration like to print out for your client with cash values and all that, this is where you go for it. But if you want to just run a quote for yourself or for your clients out there, I would use the insuranceapplication.com website for that. It's a little easier interface, a little simpler to use, easier to get to as well. So the insuranceapplication.com website for that. The agent e-file is where you'll find information about your client list and correspondence, production reports, stuff like that. In fact, when you click on it, here's what it looks like when you pull it up. Down at the bottom, it's got a list of the reports that are available for you. So if I click on, say for example, policy correspondence. When I click on policy correspondence, it pulls up all the dates that I had received correspondence from our headquarters. And if I clicked on view for any of those dates, it'll show me what they sent me. So it could be on pending cases or people that missed their premium payments, stuff like that. So policy correspondence is a really important one to stay on top of, because that's how we try and communicate with you on the status of all your cases out there. If you need to see a list of your clients out there, just click on the client list right there. If you have a downline that works for you, click on view all, and it'll show you for both your personal clients as well as everybody in your hierarchy. You can see your production for the current and prior year, and it's broken down by week, by month, by year, and by product as well within those breakdowns too. So you can see all the production for yourself and see how you're doing with us. And there's some other reports on there for advanced information and commissions and things like that. So our, we've got our simplified issue product portfolio is easy to use, and we went through final expense today. We have easy issue term and mortgage term products, easy issue universal life, and some other niche type of products as well. The riders do a great job for you to help you create value for your clients out there. All the optional riders you can add on there too. We want to do business with you however you do business for yourself. Applications are simple and easy to get through. Utilize that Social Security drafting whenever possible, and you will make your life a lot easier in the future. We have an average 3-day turnaround time on non-final expense business. So final expense, we'll do it same day. Obviously, you get that decision right there at the point of sale. It takes us about a day or so to finalize it in the headquarters and get the policy sent out. We have obviously that A rating with AM Best, and our agent portal is super easy to use out there. Okay, so when you've got questions after we get done today, please reach out to our new business agent support line out there, whether you call us at that phone number that's listed on there, or you email us, or really the easiest and fastest and probably most efficient way to get us is in that live chat box on the agent website. When you first start the live chat out, that's who you start with. So if you get questions about contracting status or commissions, or what does this policy do, how does this rider work, I need to do this, need to do that, start with that, go to our marketing assistants and they can help you out there. Okay, so please start here for all your needs out there.